What's up, everybody? BumbleBee here. No, I'm just kidding, Scott. But we're doing a BumbleBee review today with the gang, Baltimore, Geyser, and Danny. And like I said, we are talking about Bumblebee, the new Transformers movie that's blessedly not from Michael Bay.
Thank you very much.
And this one is directed by Travis Knight. So between the two directorial styles, it is most definitely like seeing between Knight and Bay. And you can patent that. That's right.
Take that to the bank.
That's right, the Bumble Bank. That's how we're starting this
How
review,
can
too.
it be any more funny?
Just follow us. Just following the bus. But yeah, Bumblebee is a pseudo prequel reboot. Not really. Yes, it is. Not really a thing that sort of connects to. Anyway, it doesn't suck. That's. I think that's the biggest thing that we can take away from it. It's not the ugly modern art nightmare garbage from Michael Bay.
It does
Not that I have
retcon
any-
stuff, though. It does retcon.
Oh my god.
It's retcon stuff. That's the best
Yeah.
part.
Well, the thing with this movie,
Oh, am I supposed to put spoilers and stuff?
yeah, this is the non-spoilers.
All right, there. We're under spoiler
We're not
free
spoiling right now.
right here.
Oh, we're just
Spoiler
going right
free. So
on
how do I
free.
say this spoiler free? As Guy just said, it's a prequels, but not because it's a reboot, but it's not because I think the people with the money are just waiting to see how it plays out. If it makes a ton of money, then maybe they'll segue it into its own thing. If not, then, oh no, this was just a prequel to the Bayverse.
Just go back to Transformers stories.
They're
without
going
any
to
hint of
transform a Segway?
Sounds like that little thing from Mask, that little robot. Or
Yeah,
this thing. Yeah. T-Bob.
yeah.
Well, that's the other thing, is this is the rumored first part of the extended universe with Mask
I've
and
heard
G.I.
that
Joe.
also.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the Hasbro thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard that also. Yep.
It's
Transformers is My
not-
Little Pony.
blowing up the box office. Its fire kind of got extinguished a bit by Aquaman.
And Mary Poppins.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Did I didn't know-
It's not, I mean, I don't think it, like, bombed, but it's not like the big money, you know, let's put the sequel in development right now type of...
Well, it's one of those things that I also wonder, how much money do they actually need to make to warrant moving forward with a whatever
Off
they're
of
gonna
it.
do with it?
Well, let's see.
You know, they have the domestic sales, and then whatever they're going to make overseas is going to be really
Right.
Right.
ratchet up.
So, production budget was 135 million.
Mm-hmm.
Domestically, it's made 111 million domestically. Foreign, 266 million. So right now, worldwide, it's already made 377 million. So
All right,
it's
so-
doubled it's at least more than doubled its production budget.
Not
And
included.
throwing $100 million for marketing, and they're still in the black,
Yeah,
sounds
they're
like.
still
Yeah.
pretty good in the black.
I mean, the thing that does bother me, like you were saying, Kaiser, is like, and this is something to be said for all the things that are being rebooted, rehab,
Rehabbed. Go home, you drunk.
No,
the
no,
fame of
no.
Hollywood, the price of
And
Hollywood.
rehab, no.
and Bumblebee, and there was another movie that they kind of rebooted, reclaimed, whatever they wanted to do, and it's like they kind of give you a little bit of the nod to whatever happened, and then totally went a different direction, but not fully goes in the other direction. So it's like this milk toast kind of trying to be so many things, so it doesn't succeed in being what
Right.
it should be. Although I do have to say the Bumblebee succeeded a lot more in my eyes than any of the other things that have come out.
Oh, yeah. It's, as a reboot, it exceeds, like, the RoboCops and,
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
the Judge Dredd, all those
Yeah.
things. Yeah.
But as a prequel, well, it's a good movie. Can we get into spoilers now?
I don't know. What do we want to?
Do you want to say anything?
Well,
particularly?
let's just do a quick little roundtable. Baltimore, what did you think of the movie?
Um, can I say this? The first 5 minutes were my favorite 5 minutes of a movie ever.
Yes.
Like
Right.
Transformers the movie, like had me, hooked me. I was there. I'm like, I'm giving this all my attention. Yeah, I for the most part really enjoyed it. There were parts I was just like, but overall, very, very solid film. And best Transformers film.
The bar's pretty low, honestly.
Yes, the bar is low, way low.
It could have been kittens fighting, and it probably would have been better than the rest of them.
Kids like little cardboard helmets and armor on.
Actually, I'd watch that.
You know that little kid that goes? Well, I'm sure there's a few of them, but like they transform into the
Optimus Prime and stuff. I know.
I would watch that over any of the other Transformers movies.
Like that. What was that movie with Jack Black where they just remade big budget movies, but they did themselves?
Be Kind, Rewind.
Was that it?
Yeah.
Oh,
they just refilmed them at low budget, like their version, and like would stick them in the rental boxes or something. Like
that was they did the Sweded versions of all the movies because they messed up everything, and then they had their own versions of like Ghostbusters and everything else. It was a funny movie.
Yeah, because they accidentally like erased.
What's that called?
The rental store.
Be Kind, Rewind.
Be Kind, Rewind. All right, I'll watch it.
I mean, it's off topic, but
no, but that's like the kids in the cardboard doing that. The whole movie, just that in my mind, that's what I saw was them doing a Sweded version.
All right. Well, Kaiser, did you like this movie?
I did. I enjoyed it. I figured I would. You'd all seen it before me, and you all gave it glowing praise. Spoiler alert: they all like it.
Very like.
Wait. Did we all?
Yes.
Oh no!
Oh yeah, we had that mystery text, so I guess we'll get into that in a minute.
Right.
All right, but let's.
I liked it. I want to talk more in the spoilers, so I'm gonna pass it on to Kai.
Okay. Well, I'm like Baltimore. The first 5 minutes, it was just the missus looked over and said I had this big stupid grin on my face, and I think the biggest thing was it was like, I recognize these characters. You know, they show like 5 characters right off the bat, and I'm like, I recognize them. They don't look like something out of a museum of modern art, and I get what's going on.
Yeah. And really follow the action much more easily than in any of the other Transformer movies.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
It was a coherent story. The protagonist, the girl, was really likable, and you could really empathize with her. And they added a lot of heart to this movie that none of the other Transformers movies ever had even attempted to try. And this kind of felt like an E.T. meets Iron Giant sort of thing. And I loved the 1986 Transformers animated film, but you went in there to watch cool battles and watch all your old favorites get murdered, and that was it. That's a cool one.
We didn't expect the murder part, but.
Yeah, it was a straight up murder fest.
Not Danny.
Yeah, that was a straight up murder fest, that 86 film. But overall, I liked it, and I had a lot of fun, and I just wished that any of the other live action attempted to pretend they were a Transformers movie, because they weren't. All right.
Well, now I totally forgot that Danny was like...
That I left that cryptic text to you guys, right?
Yep. Meet me downtown, wear sandals. I have no idea.
Yeah, so overall I probably give this movie maybe a B minus, maybe even a C.
Okay.
Rating all of the Transformer movies, it gets an A plus. It is by far, except the animated movie. The animated movie is still number 1 for me. Even after watching this film, animated movie is still number 1. This would come in second place. However, I only enjoyed about 20 minutes of the film. The first, you're saying it was only 5 minutes. The first, I thought it felt more like 10, 15, maybe because it was just so awesome. But maybe it was only 5 minutes. And if that's the case, then I only liked 10 minutes of this film. um, but I don't want to go into any spoilers. We can do that in the spoiler talk when I'll give my say in all that. The rest of the film, I was bored with. I totally get, Guy, your Iron Giant analogy. And I appreciate that. I felt, yeah, that totally makes sense there. But for for me, doesn't fit in the Transformer universe as much. I don't know. The human characters just weren't likable enough for me. That's something I have problem with all Transformer movies. I don't like the humans. I don't want the humans. I want Transformers.
Yeah.
So, but so there's my spoiler free take on this, and then I'll switch it here to boop boop. Warning, warning, warning. Oh, here, let me flash it. We're now going to get into spoilers, people.
Nice.
So
yeah, you need action to grab people's attention.
Let's talk about the humans though, because Transformers, all the standard media, it's about the robots, and it should be in a series called Transformers. It's not Transformers and Friends or whatever, but
right,
you know,
Transformers and their not so amazing friends.
They're squishy friends, but
speaking of squishy, just really quick, the goo that humans turn into when they get shot, I did not expect the graphics of that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's fine. That's actually one of the parts of the movies I didn't like, and a problem with it that I had. But
well, I mean, you look at Charlie and you look at Memo, and they were likable enough. I like Charlie. At least she had some heart, and there was some nice connection. I get it with this one because Bumblebee was always that human robot liaison. He was always the one who connected most with the teenager, and he was kind of like that guy that you wanted to be your best friend. That also happened to be a robot, and I felt they captured that well. John Cena was okay. You know, all the other Bay movies, the military are just morons. And you're coupled with Bay's versions of humans of being like absurdly patriotic, misogynistic, racist, stupid. I could go on and on about how awful Bay's versions of humans are, and then
the Transformers follow.
Oh, and the robots are misogynistic, racist, awful characters, but at least there were things to like. I liked the family. They were funny. You know, they were kind of in the background, but they kind of did their own thing. I didn't hate anybody in this movie, and a lot of even the bitchy girl that didn't like Charlie, at least she felt like an 80s movie throwback. I didn't have an issue with her.
Mm-hmm.
So I was okay with it. It felt like an 80s movie, and that I was totally cool with.
Yeah, given that framework, I get it. I thought there were parts that were too long that just kind of drug on a bit longer than needed. I thought the John Cena parts were pretty terrible all around. I thought
John Cena. Sorry.
That's been kind of passable, but this was just like I don't know.
Plug in any nobody meathead, and it would have been. It would have still worked.
Yeah, but
was it as bad as the other Transformers movies?
No. But
the military stuff, yes. To me, it was just as bad. It just
they're making the same.
Nothing.
It's the same story again and again. There's no change to it. And if this is supposed to be a prequel, now it f's up everything that the other movies have established.
Good.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, then you're supposed to how do you reconcile that they do know about it, but they don't know about it, and now the whole world knows about it, but they don't know about it, and it's that whole kind of quasi thing bugs me about the film.
Yep.
Like a VW.
The little bee in my bonnet.
Yeah. I think if this succeeds, it'll be retconned, and the other stuff will no longer exist and be its own little thing. Because
Maybe so.
Maybe this is the Star Trek reboot, alternate reality to the Transformers.
Right.
Because they pulled a little too much out of the Bay films. The Bumblebee with no voice, the transforming into the modern Camaro at the end.
Mm-hmm.
So bummed.
Even though it was like this beautiful shot across the Golden Gate Bridge next to possibly Optimus Prime.
Right.
It was Optimus, yeah.
But it's like, okay, they're a little heavy-handed with the Bay stuff.
Exactly.
To where it felt like they really didn't know.
Oh yeah.
What they wanted to do with this movie, and it does suffer a bit from it. And like I said at the opening, yeah, I like it. I don't know if I love it. I love the first 5 minutes, or however long. Someone needs to get a timer on that. And that just made me want to play the video games like War for Cybertron,
Mm-hmm.
where it all takes place
Yeah.
in Cybertron. Because those are amazing and got the designs and the characters right.
Oh, for sure.
It's like, let's just give us a movie of that. Because like Danny, as you're saying, it's not about the humans. You want to see it's about the Transformers and their interactions.
Right.
And all these movies, even this one, they feel like they have to cram the human element in.
It's like this. It's like Masters of the Universe. I was like, no, we want Eternia. We want Cybertron.
Right.
Give it what we want. We don't need the human element because the robots themselves are the human element.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I would have been so much happier if 75% of this film was about Cybertron and everything going on there, and then lead into Bumblebee getting to Earth and coming in contact, and maybe like we get 10 minutes or so of interaction with the girl and that kind of stuff, and leading out to like she's going to help him find Prime and all of that or whatever. I wanted a lot more of Cybertron and all of that backstory more, and I wanted more Transformers. I wanted more of the Transformers that I saw at the beginning of the film, because I was like, oh, and
Yeah.
that's what
Terrible.
Sorry.
That's what got me excited, and then I lost it. I think Haley she's a wonderful actress. I enjoyed her in True Grit and some of the other films that I can't figure out off the top of my head right now that she's been in, but they're brilliant. She's a brilliant actress, and I'm a fan of hers. But I just wasn't a fan of this plot overall. It wasn't for me. And I love The Iron Giant. I love that movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's the crazy thing. But I think part of it is like I've already had that movie. I don't want it in a Bumblebee film. And Bumblebee, he's been the kind of the liaison in the animated series. He and Spike got along really well. Spike was the human element of the Transformers cartoon. And even Spike's kid, whatever his name was, I can't remember. Daniel, okay? God, I should know that, right?
It's all the Autobot death trauma.
Oh,
but
man.
Talking about like the going back to the beginning, and that could be like a whole video in itself, because it's like, we are in spoilers, so it's like the first 5 minutes, it's like, oh my God, Ratchet, oh my God, Wheeljack, oh my God, RC, oh my God, Brawn, and then it immediately goes over, and it's like, oh my God, Soundwave and Starscream and Shockwave, and I found out that Shockwave and Soundwave are actually voiced by the guy who does those epic trailers.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
So yeah, so that guy did those, and that he did a great job because
Absolutely
immediately when I
great.
heard the sound waves,
CJ.
robotic monotone, I was just, oh, yeah. So it freaked me out for a second. I might have actually made that noise. It was I kind of like I did my spirit detached from my body and floated over the theater at that point. Um,
That
but
might just be the case.
I didn't mind the human element in it just because I thought it was just kind of a nice little story. It's you have these two broken characters that find each other and they help each other heal, and they're both the better for it, and they part ways. I mean, would I've liked to see Charlie in another film? Yeah, I felt that she came into her own throughout the film, and uh, she was a great likable character. But now they can possibly go off and have other adventures now that Optimus Prime and who else is landing on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
I've been hearing.
How'd she get home?
She walked.
She Ubered it. Oh wait,
Yeah.
86.
So
No.
she was at the Golden Gate Bridge, and like, how far is that from where? Where was her house?
It's just down the hill.
Is it? Okay. All right.
She just
Down the hill
dove.
subjective.
She swam there.
I have to.
Because I laughed
do have-
out loud. I laughed out loud at that part. I like,
Go
that girl
Don't
be
you
walking
ever
home,
like without-
and that's a long walk. But okay.
I do have to say I'm glad they didn't force the romance, like I was fearing they would.
Right.
Her, the neighbor.
Yeah, I liked that
Yeah.
it was there, but it wasn't there. You know what I mean? There wasn't
Yeah.
that fulfillment of it,
Yeah.
which I appreciated greatly.
It's like we don't
But-
need to see them hook up and kiss at the
Right,
end.
and I honestly don't think that they would. Yeah, I think for her, it's more of, they went through something really
Yeah.
incredible together, but it doesn't need to be more than that.
Yeah, it was about
Right.
her overcoming her father, the grief
Yep.
of losing her father.
Right.
Yeah.
He was just there.
Mhm.
You know, he wasn't a romantic interest in the least because she wasn't looking at anybody with
She was
that
Yeah.
eye.
looking at that one guy,
But he was. The poor guy. He really digs her. Yeah, I mean, you get that from the way he looks at her and kind of
Oh yeah.
But he's an awkward dude and all
He
that.
just liked her car.
Mm.
And it would have fulfilled the '80s movie trope if they had hooked up at the end, and
Right.
they kind of left it open. So if there's ever another one, who knows down the line. But it's
Yeah.
But they didn't rush into each other like movie. It's like, let's see where this goes. Maybe later.
They didn't lock eyes across the crowded and
Right.
fight to get to each other in passionate embrace.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you for that.
It was just a we'll see, and that was it. That was fine.
No, I was torn on if it was sweet or just cheese. Her diving in to save Bumblebee, because
Mhm.
the whole she was a diver and she wouldn't dive off the cliff to be cool, and it's like I get the arc and I saw it and
Right.
like it's kind of sweet, but at the same time it's like, God, is that so telegraphed
Okay,
that was gonna happen?
but here's why I hated that, and I thought it was so cheesy.
See, that's what I'm saying.
What purpose is it for her to dive in there? He's a freaking transformer. It's not like she's gonna
She's not gonna pull
pull
up.
him up. It's
Yeah.
you're underwater. I mean, what are you gonna do? Smack him in the face and go, "B, wake the
Give him
flip
mouth to
up."
mouth.
Yeah, mouth to mouth.
There you
Well,
go.
yeah.
See,
Well, it ended better than I thought. I was like, oh god, it's going to turn into the Shape of Water thing, isn't it? I was like, oh god, please don't let them make out. Oh, don't let that be the love interest.
Oh,
I
that was.
was on about, okay, there's all this water and electricity. Why is no one frying?
right? Why did she just dive in and die?
Right.
Yeah.
her-
Like,
Yeah.
At that
And then
point,
her
it starts
death
playing,
is
don't
what
you
brought-
forget about me.
I have to say
He's
though,
laying there watching her fry, and it freaks him out, and he comes out and just goes on a rampage.
so we end the movie with him transforming into the Camaro.
Hmm.
We have a female character left on the side of the
Down the hill.
Yeah, she walking, man.
The next time we see if this does continue to the first Transformers movie,
Mm-hmm.
that's roughly about a good amount of time for, say, a daughter to be born. Did anyone feel like she might have been Megan Fox's mother? Or is that just...
The mechanic aspect,
I didn't even think about it. Yeah, because it does take place 20 years before. Yeah, 87,
and
2007.
Yeah.
and it would make sense that her mother is a mechanic. She
But
picked that up
she
as
didn't
well.
seem like the type of girl who would get pregnant at such an early age.
Well,
I don't know.
16 right now.
Oh, she's
So
16?
three
Okay.
more years. That's
Yeah. Okay.
20.
Are you saying that Megan Fox is a bubble baby?
She has
It
the
really was
bubble
Shape
butt.
of Water. Oh God, no!
She might have some.
Oh,
No, that's just something
jeez.
I kind of like. And after I was watching, I was like, I wonder if they would go that route and make that connection happen.
I wouldn't put it past them at all. It's such a Hollywood thing to do.
Well, and plus the similarities of hair color and
Mm-hmm.
kind of just led me to, I would not be surprised, like you said, Danny.
Right. Now, I will say one thing, another positive that I did like about the movie was the soundtrack. I love the music in this.
Oh yeah.
Especially the use of the Smiths, and I thought that was cute. The one bit where she's trying to put tapes in for music that he likes, and he keeps spitting them out. That was enjoyable, and we got to hear the "You Got the Touch."
Oh, that was so perfect.
That was like awesome in my book. That one, just adding that into the movie, just was perfect. It was like nice job there. Way to do that fan service. That was total fan service, but I appreciate it. Totally appreciate it.
The intro really, because you always see those behind the scenes things. Oh yeah, I'm a big fan of the property and I love it. I grew up with it, and then it's crap, and it's like apparently not that much. But I saw behind the scenes where Travis Knight's going. I was a big fan of Transformers, and between the intro and little nods like that, yeah, he's cool with me. Apparently, he really is.
Yeah, I mean, and you can see, you come onto these big budget projects, and there's only so much control that you can exert.
Mm-hmm.
So much vision that you can place onto a film when you have all these other things that you must do and the studio control, all that. So I do feel like he really did as best he could to honor the material and honor
with his restrictions, his
right.
contract.
The little kid in him that was such a fan,
right.
And but I liked it a lot. I really enjoyed it. Yes, I do have problems with it, like you, Danny. Can I get over them for the most part? Yeah, because the first 5 minutes. I mean,
yeah, I'll be watching that first 5 minutes like over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Or I think it's longer than 5 minutes though, but I will time it. But
might be.
But yeah.
I'm surprised it's not on YouTube yet.
I'll definitely be watching it over and over and over again because that was freaking phenomenal.
Someone go to the theaters with a stopwatch. Don't be distracting at all with your stopwatch and your beeps.
And then your little camera recording it. I mean, no, we don't do that.
Yeah, I think the only other thing that really I enjoyed it overall, but I think the thing that really stood out, and I kind of get why they would do it. I didn't find the Decepticons in this movie bad. I didn't have an issue with them because at least they looked like robots that could actually turn into a vehicle, and they were triple changers. It's just they were kind of generic, and I didn't really get that excitement like, oh God, Starscream, oh God, Thundercracker, Ravage, anything like that. And I could see why they were disposable and they blew up at the end, and that was kind of that. And they're going to want to keep their heavy hitters for a later, bigger battle.
Yeah, right.
So I get that and I appreciate that, but it's just, did they? At least it seems like they had some sort of motivation. And as bad as John Cena was, and he wasn't awful. I didn't like roll my eyes every time I saw him. He did make one good point. Their names are Decepticons. This doesn't raise any red flags with you. At least somebody calls it out finally.
Right.
Yeah.
But Yeah, I just felt
And,
it was
and if you're
filler.
and as a Decepticon, would you go, I'm a Decepticon? You know, it's
No.
like you wouldn't even announce
Aren't you
yourself
supposed to
as
be
that.
deceptive?
Yeah. You're
Like
not deceiving
you-
anybody.
Yeah. No.
No, they're just proud of who they are. Let them be them.
We are the good Gaiacons, and we are here
No,
tracking down people.
they should have simply just said what their names were, what planet they're from, and that we're you know
Tracking a
we're
fugitive.
tracking
Whatever, yeah.
fugitives. Yeah, that's it. Enough said.
Yeah.
But they're really bad at being deceptive, and that's why they're dead.
Set the dead. The Deadicons.
whoever
So,
the was he the research guy or what was I can't remember what
The scientist dude.
scientist. Yeah, I like him as an actor. I think he's done great work on Broadway. But as the character here, I was like, why?
No,
Why are we going through this again?
it was copy paste from all the other ones. You had the scientist guy and the military guy. Copy paste. And I'm telling you,
Yep.
you could have put anybody in there. Cast a nobody who looks like a nerd scientist guy and a meathead. Put them in those roles, still would have worked. And I still
Yeah.
would
It's a
have been like
Photoshop.
completely disinterested.
Sure. Yeah.
Photoshop challenge. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, that's what I'm hearing.
I can make
So
it happen.
make it happen.
Yeah.
So Charlie is just Charlie. She has no last name.
Does the mother have a last name?
That's why I'm looking, and I'm not seeing one.
Sorry, Charlie.
It was
So
just
they're all like a
Sally.
family of shares.
Apparently, and so that might
Like
play into
Madonna's.
her being
Oh,
Megan
being
Fox's mom without
Mm,
giving away the last name.
that's a good point.
If she had, assuming she had the kid out of wedlock, and,
Right, and took the
you
mother's
know,
last name. Yeah.
You should write some fan fiction about this and ship some characters. And
Hey, you love shipping characters. You love all that.
That's Danny's favorite thing. Danny
Alright.
loves ships.
go write some fan fiction about the Bumble Baby
You get Sam Witwicky in there.
that got all shaped of water when she dove in there to complete her story arc.
See, their DNA merged in the liquid somehow with electricity, because you know how electricity makes magic and just does things when it strikes. So them being in the water together, and when they touched, right when that light, that
Was that?
Now,
Did you got the touch play again?
Of course. But you hear it underwater, so it's like.
Okay.
So now we're making it sound like it fits better in the Michael Bay universe for the sheer nonsensical plot. Plot? That's such a generous term.
Have you seen The Last Night? Has any of you seen The Last Night? It is insane what they tried to do with
I read the synopsis because I just could not subject my brain to that.
It's bonkers. Watch it and don't
Oh, it's
think
those little. Are we back to the 80s? It's a bonkers. That was a candy that I used to eat.
Yes.
I love bonkers.
and the poorly received Disney afternoon cartoon about the cop cat.
Oh yeah, the cop cat. I liked him. He came. Did he? He was on either before or after Marsupilami. Can't remember, but yeah. Anyways.
Folks, bring all your bonkers comparisons in the comments. Anything that has
Leave them
bonkers
down
in
below
it,
there.
Put it down in the comments.
Did we miss any bonkers?
The bonkers
All right.
cinematic universe.
Yeah, I want to wrap this one up. I think we're just heading down a dark, lonely road at this point.
Again, we're making a story for a Michael Bay film. But that said, Bumblebee is such a breath of fresh air overall in comparison to anything that Michael Bay put out. Even with its flaws, even with a couple generic characters here and there, the opening scene is worth it alone.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some great moments thrown all throughout the film, and the musical soundtrack is great, although we've heard it growing up. It was our soundtrack growing up, so of course we're going to be biased towards it.
Right.
But it felt like a good 80s film, and we didn't even touch on where Bumblebee smashed that one car at the end. That was like one of the funniest scenes. I actually genuinely laughed when Bumblebee is jumping on that girl's car.
Oh yeah.
Just bam, bam, because it goes from toilet papering to just kicking the crap out of that girl's car.
Oh yeah, that was.
Oh,
funny.
and that reminded me, wasn't that the weird science house?
That's something we're gonna have to look up.
It looked awfully familiar to me. It looked like a classic '80s house that's been used before, and I think it was Weird
They
Science.
did play Weird Science in the movie for a moment,
Right.
but it had some fun moments. Had some nice little '80s movie trope throwbacks. It was fun. I've heard everything from a Bumblebee 2 to an Optimus Prime standalone movie. I would love to see an Optimus movie with Peter Cullen going up against Megatron with Frank Welker's voice. And if anyone would do it, I would think Travis Knight would actually pull something like that off. So let that happen.
And then Megatron and Optimus fall in love and make
Another ship.
Another skateboard fly. Oh god, this stops. This has to stop. It's reached its apex. But anyway, that's our thought on Bumblebee. We liked it, even with the flaws that it did have in it. Go check it out. And as always, it's all due to us. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Wow.
Bye.
Bumblebee.
Bumblebee bye.